Hi guys. So in this video, I'm just going to be demonstrating how you can use Terraform to provision resources in AWS. To do this, you will need to have Terraform installed. And also you must have authorized or configured Terraform to access your AWS. This isn't a Terraform installation video, so I'm going to skip all of those steps. Without further ado, let's kick off. So Terraform is an infrastructure as code. Basically what that means is that instead of you logging into AWS console to create resources, to create services and all kinds of resources within AWS, you don't need to do that. You can provision your resources simply by writing Terraform code. So let's see how that works. And another thing to mention is that as DevOps, you will find yourself visiting the Terraform registry page every now and then, just so that you can find instructions on how to provision certain resources. So to start with, I'm going to be provisioning a VPC within my AWS account. If you see, this is my AWS account. At the moment, I only have two VPCs created. Okay, so these are just existing, and I'm going to be creating new ones in a moment. So now let's just take a very quick look through Terraform registry page on how to create an AWS VPC. So if you want to find that particular resource that you are looking for information about, you can simply just go to the search to the filter search field right here in the left hand corner, and you just want to type in that particular resource. For example, say VPC, or if it's something else you want to create, say EC2 for example, and then you'll find lots of information on how to create that particular resource. So now, like I mentioned, we're just going to be creating a VPC to start with. Okay, so you can see here, these are basic usage snippets. So this one here, what this is explaining here is just saying that you want to create a resource, which is an AWS VPC, and then you are calling that particular resource that you're creating, which is VPC on this occasion, you're calling it main. All right, so you can give it whatever name you like. All right, it doesn't have to be main. This is just an example. You can call it VPC, your VPC, whatever. And also here is the CIDR block. When you're creating a VPC, you will need to assign CIDR block. So this is how you can declare that and just put the value right there. So, and here is another usage whereby you've got tags. On this occasion, they've used a name. They've given it a name tag, okay? And then you can just put the value of the tag right there. So without further ado, so I'll just go into my Visual Studio Code. So in my Visual Studio Code, I want to click on New Terminal. So, I mean, I've got options. You could, if you have like Git Bash or any other terminal installed, you can use. On this occasion, I just want to use my terminal within Visual Studio Code. Okay, so at the moment, as you can see, this directory is totally empty. There isn't anything there. All right, so one thing I would like to do here is that by default, I can see PowerShell. Okay, but you can click on the drop down here. You want to click on the drop down so that you can use Git Bash. All right, so so now I am within my working directory. So this is where I'm going to be creating my project folder, which on this occasion, let's call the project we're working on Lagos. Okay, and I'm just going to be adding numbers at the back of that. So I'm just going to be creating a new folder called Lagos 01, for example. Okay, we start with that, and I just want to cd into that folder. So as you can see, whatever actions you're taking in the terminal, you'll be seeing the results right away visually on the left hand side. So here you've got the folder created, and within this folder, like I mentioned, it's going to be a Terraform code. So for Terraform codes, when you have a Terraform file, you have the naming convention to end in .tf. All right, that's how anybody else can know that you are, this particular file is indeed a Terraform file. So I'm just gonna be calling, I'll call that main.tf. Okay, there you go. So if I open this folder now, I should see a main.tf inside there. All right, our main.tf file is totally empty at the moment. So what do you need to do first? You need to declare the provider, and by provider I mean like what kind of cloud provider are you writing the code for. So I mean, if you're working with AWS, so it's going to be AWS. If you're working with Azure or GCP, you have to declare them. So on this occasion I'm using so another thing worth mentioning here is that I'm actually using a Terraform plugin which helps to suggest names and arguments or attributes to me. Okay, all right, so I'm just gonna click on that. So as you can see, this is how the structure goes. On this occasion, this is AWS that I'm working on. So what I want to type is the region. Okay, so the region is gonna be because I'm in the UK, I'm going to be using EU West 1, for example. All right, cool. I've got my provider. I've declared that I'm instructing Terraform to say that, see, this code I'm writing, I want you to execute it within my AWS cloud. All right. So now we've got that sorted. The next thing would be to create. So I'll just say create a VPC. Okay. And how do you do that? You just want to declare your resource, and your resource will be AWS VPC. Right. Okay, there you go. And you want to give it just whatever name you like. I'll call it my VPC. All right. And let's give it a cider block really quickly of maybe 10.0.0. yeah, 16. That's a good one. And also instance tenancy. If you look at an example that was given here, so an example that was given here, instance tenancy, default, and so on, it doesn't even matter. Like, you could come here and just copy the code, the snippet right here. So I can do that. And I just go straight into my code. That's it. So yeah, so that's my SATA block, the instance tenancy, defaults. You don't even have to add this. Okay, it's an optional argument right there. So tags. Now this is important. If you're going to include tags, then you want to give it like a reasonable name, something that is relevant to the project that you're working on. So I'll call it maybe Lagos project. Tagging is really important because it's kind of like logically just groups all resources that are related to the same project. So it can group them all together. That's really useful. Okay, so now what I've done here is, let me expand my screen for you. So I've given a tag name, and I've declared like SATA block and instance tenancy, and I'm actually okay by this. All right, so let's go into our terminal, and I'm gonna clear so that I can have enough space to type. So my code is ready. Everything I've written here within main.tf, we can recap really quickly. So I've got my provider right there. I've said this is within AWS, and the region should be in EU West 1. Okay, and then to create your VPC, you need to declare a resource. What type of resource is that? It's going to be AWS VPC, and then you give it the name. Just give it whatever name is relevant to the project you're working on. So on this occasion, I'm just giving it my VPC. And now got a CIDR block. You can just have this instance tenancy as well. And then I'm tagging it, giving it a name tag, calling Lagos project, just so that in future, when I'm grouping all the resources related to this particular project, yes, they will all fall under the same tag name. All right, cool. So what I want to do now is, at the moment, the working directory, as you can see, this folder is not initialized for Terraform. But for you to do that, you just need to come here and do Terraform init. this particular command is just going to initialize your project folder for Terraform. That is, Terraform will now understand that, okay, we've got something to do right here. So it's just hit enter and give it a moment. So so as you can see, a lot of things have happened in the background. Look at this folder, for example, this .terraform folder. It wasn't there before, was it? It wasn't there before. So when you do Terraform init, Terraform is going to do a lot of work in the background. And yeah, and at the end of the day, if everything was successful, it will tell you that Terraform has been successfully initialized on your project. Okay, cool. So now let's just clear the screen. So the next thing you want to do is to do Terraform validates, and I'll tell you what this does. When you do Terraform validates, it's going to check through your code just to make sure that, okay, your code is actually all right. Once in a while, at least you try to do Terraform validates. I have managed to like make it a habit. I do check all the time just to do Terraform validates, to check, to validate my code and to make sure that everything is looking good. All right, the next thing you want to do after that is to do Terraform plan. Now, what Terraform plan does is that it compares your desired state, like the desired resources that you want to spin up. You can, by doing Terraform plan, you can definitely see the desired resources that you're about to spin up. Okay, on this occasion, I am expecting that the resource the Terraform will show us will be just the VPC, which I plan to create, all right, to provision. So look at that. So now you can see plan 1 to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. So there is no resource to destroy, there is no resource to change, but we plan to create a new resource, just one resource. And if you go from the top right here, you can see usually, you know, Terraform has this way of just putting like this hash symbol in front of each resource that it's creating. So you've got this resource right here, AWS VPC.myVPC. That's the VPC name, all right. And yeah, that's the resource that I'm creating. So that will be created, and it's telling me right here that I've got my CIDR block, you know, to add. I've given it the CIDR block and so on. Some of these values will be known after you've done your Terraform apply, that is after you've actually created the resource itself. At the moment, it's not created. No, it's not created at the moment. As you can see, it's just a plan. So if I go into my AWS console to see, you know, I won't see any new VPC there because I've not created anything. Okay, so now to create, actually, once you've done your Terraform plan and you see that everything looks good, you want to create the resource. You just want to do Terraform apply. All right, once you do Terraform apply, Terraform is just going to go through all of the Terraform files within your folder, and it's just going to work through everything. And so it's going to look into your state file and see what resources you really want to create, and it will just spin up all of this for you right away. Look at that, Terraform apply. So we have to wait a moment. This can take a while. So here Terraform is asking you, are you really sure you want to perform this action? I just want to say yes, and there you go. Voila. So as we can see, it says apply complete, resources 1 added, 0 changed, 0 destroyed. Now this particular resource has been created for real for us, okay, in AWS. Now another thing very important right here is the Terraform state file. The Terraform state file contains information about provisioned resources, okay, and I'm going to show you something just when I destroy the resource so that you will see what I mean. At the moment, you can see information like, okay, this is the provider, it's AWS, and showing different instances, schema version 1, and yeah, the VPC ID is this, you know, which is now known after provisioning, right? And yeah, security group ID, that it's given it a default security group ID. Yeah, And yeah, your main route table ID is this, and so on. You'll find all of this. And remember the tag that we give to this to this resource, we call it Lagos Proj, and that's what you see right here. So this state file is very, very, very important. Later on, I'm going to show you how you can actually protect this state file, because you can imagine if someone that has a bad intention or a bad person actually gets hold of your state file, they can do more harm than you can imagine. All right, so as part of security practice, best practice, we have different ways of storing this state file. So let me just show you really quickly in our console. At the moment you can see only 2 still there, but I can refresh now. Boom, can you see? That's the new one that I've just created. That's it, the Lagos Proj VPC. So this is how you can use Terraform to provision a VPC in your AWS. And I mean, because I'm just doing this for demo purpose, I don't want to incur charges from AWS. So I just want to do Terraform destroy, and what this does is that it destroys all of the things that it's provisioned for you. At the moment, we're only expecting one resource to be destroyed. Okay, and I want you to pay attention to this state file right here. So I'm going to leave it open so that you see what happens when the resource is destroyed. Let's go. So you see it's asking you, are you really sure you want to destroy this resource? And you just give it yes, and give it a few seconds, and that's it. You see, destroyed complete, resources 1 destroyed. Did you notice what actually happened right here to the state file? All of the things I was showing there a moment ago is all gone now. Exactly. So that's the Terraform state basically is like your record keeper, whether to provision something fresh or just to like make amendments, or even whether to destroy a particular resource. So I hope this has been really, really helpful to someone. If you've got any questions, just drop it for me in the comment section. Thank you very much.